AEW has sold 60,000 tickets and counting at Wembley Stadium, clap for 'em, but that by no means reflects how ice cold they've gone in the States. Friendly reminder that AEW Dynamite this week, which drew its lowest number in a year, also only mustered 4,200 tickets in Maryland with well over 1,000 tickets on the streets. AEW literally had to run to another country to stimulate ticket sales because they sure as hell ain't moving like that in America. AEW All In from Wembley is both a disruptor and a distractor because it all overshadows the fact that AEW flat out sucks right now. And we're gonna get into all the reasons why this company finds itself in something of a creative funk. Let's start with the Pillars storyline. MJF, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, and Darby Allin are all talented foundations of AEW as pillars. It goes without saying. But nobody's trying to see them bicker about who's number 1 and who's number 4. There are countless stars in the AEW locker room who'd kill to be on television, let alone be an elusive pillar. Being a pillar isn't something you necessarily work toward or earn. It's really just a matter of a billionaire's taste. A pillar means you were hand-selected by a promoter to be a star, so you benefit from whatever fake wrestling storylines he comes up with just because it's on a t-shirt, I guess? And now AEW wants to make that relatable to people? Seeing the 4 pillars lash out at each other is like watching a third of Nick Cannon's kids argue over who gets his money when he's gone. This shouldn't be a feud. It should be a heel stable of entitled pillars who are lucky enough to be Tony Khan's favorite sons. That's why Sammy Guevara and MJF have shined as heels, and Jungle Boy and Darby Allin become more unlikable the more they embrace their roles as imaginary brass pillars. How the origin of the word pillars was a heel promo from MJF. What about 4 grown men fighting over backstage politics is gonna generate interest from a casual fan either way? Because they're trying that with AEW All Access and it ain't working. Pushing black talent has been a huge bugaboo for AEW since its existence, and it's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back. AEW took Will Hobbs, who's actually gaining some steam, and they pretty much did a cut and paste from the Scorpio Sky playbook. They gave him a heel manager, they put him in a stable, they had him win the TNT title. The reign meant nothing because then Wardlow beat him weeks later. Even when AEW succeeds in booking black talent, they can't help but shoot themselves in the foot. Like with the Acclaimed, who once upon a time, not too long ago, were AEW's hottest act. The Acclaimed sold merch like crazy and were on top of AEW as its top tag team and easily the most popular group in the company. But since inexplicably beating the Acclaimed to transition to an unnecessary title run from FTR, suddenly the Acclaimed is cooling off well before they should be. Meanwhile, Jade Cargill, who should be AEW's biggest star, finally got around to one of her first actual storylines against Taya Valkyrie, only to disappear off television soon after. Let's see if they're even able to write back-to-back quality storylines with Jade Cargill in her 1 year as TBS champion. What about this is so hard? AEW's hardcore fanbase and supporters remain among the most unlikable in all of sports and entertainment. Dax Harwood just tweeted something that captures the victim complex of AEW fanatics. Quote, "The amount of people that want wrestling to fail will never not blow my mind. LFG Wembley." End quote. Shouts to Dax, but this is the victimhood rhetoric that is so popular among AEW's fan base, which follows the lead of AEW's combative promoter Tony Twitterfingers. I'll never root for AEW to fail, and I think it's a beautiful thing that a non-WWE wrestling company is able to sell so many tickets for a stadium show. And while there are certain people who pray for AEW's downfall, this idea that all the AEW critics want AEW to go out of business is such woe is me, persecution complex, victimhood bullshit. People don't hate AEW because they want a bunch of wrestlers to be out of a job. They don't like AEW because sometimes the company is unlikable. Everything from its vast army of Twitter trolls to a billion-dollar Nepo baby lashing out at any narrative that criticizes his company have made AEW an easy target for a lot of people who hate what AEW stands for rather than wanting to see a business fail. Look at all the people who have called for Twitter to be shut down, most of whom are on Twitter. As fun as a bird app can be, I'll be the first person to tell you that the world would be a better place without it. But what about all those people who work for Twitter? Does that make me a monster because of all those poor tech jobs that would go away if Twitter wasn't around? No. People don't beg for Twitter's downfall because they want unemployment to go up. They want Twitter gone because it's toxic and it's run by an asshole. AEW, likewise, is the Twitter of pro wrestling. Not very many people are on Twitter. It's really only like 10% of social media users, just like not very many people watch AEW. Dynamite garnered just 776,000 viewers this past Wednesday on a show that drew a tiny crowd of under 5,000. And just like Twitter is toxic, AEW is toxic, whether it's in the locker room, out the locker room, or on social media. Tell him, John.
I have never seen so much bullshit drama in one place in my entire fucking life.
There's so much backstage drama in AEW right now, they made a whole TV show about it that nobody watches. And just like Twitter is run by an asshole, so is AEW. Tony Khan is an asshole. At least on Twitter he is. And when you act like an asshole, people are gonna want you to fail. I don't care how many people you employ. If you don't believe me about AEW's struggles, just peep the television ratings, which have been low all year. Future AEW head of creative Dave Meltzer loves to use competition as an excuse, and he'll be doing a lot of that come Saturday nights in the summer. But SmackDown had some of the stiffest competition from a show you'll ever seen between the NFL draft and the NBA playoffs last week. Yet it did one of its biggest numbers of the year for the WWE draft. Raw the following Monday, also a draft episode, not so much. It's like my 3-year-old niece tells me, when niggas wanna watch, niggas gonna watch. Competition be damned. And right now, niggas just aren't watching AEW like that. For what? The biggest storyline is basically a reality show between 4 spoiled children. Nobody's checking for the real house pillars of AEW. The fact that AEW is going out of its way to bring back the CM Punks and Jeff Hardys of the world tells you everything you need to know about how far they're willing to reach to create a spark. By the way, I can't wait until Tony Khan hires Dave Meltzer as AEW's head of creative, just so the next 10 years in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it'll be like, Booker of the Year, Dave Meltzer. Booker of the Year, Dave Meltzer. People are gonna hit the deck. And the number one reason AEW sucks right now is personified through AEW Rampage. If mediocrity in wrestling was a television show, it would be AEW Rampage. This one's for the culture, but Ebony K. Williams would never date a Rampage. AEW Rampage has moved so many different time slots, it should join the MCU as Doctor Strange. Not only was it quickly abandoned as a B show, but it's now a C show because AEW Collision is going to essentially render Rampage as more of a lame duck than Ludwig von Drake. Last week's Rampage fell under 300,000, and this week they're in another early time slot. Good luck with that. Do you think AEW sucks right now? Why? Tell me in the comments!